So it feels like summer is finally here, and I've got a couple of days off work, and I thought what better way to spend it than by utilising typical summer tactics for me really. The sun's shining on and off today. We've had 30 degrees near enough every day this week, but it's dropped off a little bit cooler. But it looks prime for a bit of floater fishing today, and I think we're going to split it up into 2-day sessions. Today we're going to have a go on floaters, try and catch as many carp as possible, maybe flit around a little bit, and then tomorrow I quite fancy a bit of stalking in the edge and maybe the chance of a bigger fish. So yeah, I've just headed up to Swan Lake. We're at Stanwick Lakes Fisheries, and this is your typical, I'm going to say runs water, but they go up to just over £30 in here, so there is a chance of a good one. And I thought it'd be the perfect place to start a bit of floater fishing. There's loads of fish out there in front of me at the minute, so got my catapult in hand, got a bucket full of floaters, so let's see if we can get them taking a few and hopefully get a few bites throughout the day. It's like 6 at a time with their mouths out. Well, I've introduced probably 4 or 5 pouches of floaters now, and I think the slight drop in temperature has definitely helped today. It's about 24 degrees, and as you can probably see out there, I reckon I've got 20, 25 fish absolutely pack-manning. Normally I'd say get them nice and confident, but it's taken literally 4 or 5 pouches, so there should be a quick bite on the cards here. And luck would have it, seagulls are leaving me alone at the minute, but we'll probably talk about the bird life a little bit later on. But for now, don't know if you heard that, I've got to get a rod out. Right, first chuck of the day. There's only 900 out there. Gone a bit bold with the hook bait. Bit of a brighter one. I love carp fishing. Here we go. You don't normally hook them first time, that's a good effort. Trying to tail walk. Absolutely nailed. Thank you very much. Lovely start to the day. So now that fish is safely in the landing net, before I get him out, I just want to try and get the fish feeding again, because as soon as I hooked that one, it exploded on the surface and it definitely pushed all the others out. So I'm just going to introduce a few more poults of floaters and see if we can't get them back on the spot, up in the water again, and fingers crossed we can sort of make hay while the sun's shining, because if this weather warms up any more, could put them off a little bit. So I want to make the most of it this morning while they're definitely out there and well up for a feed. But unfortunately the geese have turned up now, so I might have to have a little play around and try and put them off first before I get the rod back out. But yeah, I'm going to put a couple of pouches of floaters in, and then we'll get our little prize out and have a quick look at him, and then try and catch a bigger one. Well, he may not be a giant, but he's our first one of the trip and it didn't take long at all. It's probably a scraper double. I'm sure we're going to catch a couple bigger than this today, but it's a lovely start and it shows you how effective floaters are when it's warm at this time of year. So yeah, we're going to get him back. We've just started to have him feeding again, and let's try and catch a bit of a bigger one. There you go. Like that. He's not very big, but lovely linear. There we go then, fish number 2. Slightly bigger than the last and a lovely linear as well. Well spawned out, as you can see. They spawned a good few weeks ago now, so they're definitely up for a feed. But yeah, they're still going out there, but before I chuck back out, we'll get him back and we'll have a little look at the setup that I'm using this morning so far. I might change it up throughout the day, but it seems to be working at the minute, so yeah, we'll get him back and we'll have a little look at the rig. So before I get the rig back out there, I thought we'd have a little look at it because I'd say it was a little bit different from the norm to what you normally see. When you think of floater fishing, you think small hair or super glue or even side hook baits, whereas I fish a little bit different. I like to have a play around, see what works best, and for me, this is what works best. So as you can see there, I've got a size 8 floater style hook and a little bit of silicone over the eye of that hook, and then I've actually got a bait screw on the shank which I attach my bait to. In this case it's an oily floater hook bait, and then underneath that I've got a little hook bead. It's almost like German style if you like, but on the surface, and basically what happens with that is when you chuck in, it means the hook point every single time is always facing down. It never sits side on, it always drops down, and you've got that little bit of flexibility there, which I think enhances your hooking potential a little bit. And then obviously with the silicone over the eye, the gape is absolutely huge, so hooking potential is a lot better. I've found that works well for me anyway. I've got around 4 foot of 10-pound hook link. This is a zig and floater hook link, and then today I'm using a small float at the minute. Now I always carry a selection of floats with me. This is 5 gram. I normally take them up to sort of 50 gram. Sometimes if I'm leaving the rod in position for a long time and I don't want to be recasting, I'll use a heavier float and rely on the float to hook the fish for me. Whereas today, using a light float, striking because I find it a lot more exciting. And it doesn't matter if I miss fish because a little plop isn't going to spook them too much. Coming up from that, I've got a 15-pound zig and floater mainline as well. I like a heavier mainline when I'm floater fishing because normally I'm fishing in a weedy environment. Today I'm not, it's just a bit of fun, but it covers me for all options. And the rod itself is a Fox Explorer. It's a 3-pound, so reasonably light, and it means I can retract if I need to get in little poke holes, just dropping it off my rod tip if I'm free lining. Just covers me again for all options. And then just a bait runner size reel, sort of 10,000 size, perfect for fishing up to sort of 70-80 yards. So yeah, that's the setup. There's a lot of fish still going over my shoulder, so I think I better get it back out there. Come on, get up there. Well, I can't lie, we may not be catching the biggest fish in the world at the minute, but there's nothing more exciting than watching that explosion on the surface when one takes it. It's so fun. It's actually not a bad one. Definitely the biggest one of the day. And he's a very angry common. So hopefully we'll get him in the net. And they're still going out there. Oh, he's nailed in the top lip this time, lovely. Whoa, wicked. Well, check him out. It's the right result getting one of this size, to be fair. He's probably knocking on the doors of 20 pound. And it is a good fish for this lake. They do go up to just over 30, but we'll definitely take him. Great sport, great fun. And they're still troughing out there as we speak. So with the way the session's going, I'm gonna hedge my bets, get it back out there and see if we can catch an even bigger one. But for now, I am well chuffed with him. He is lovely. Oh. Well, I've had quite a few bites now already, and we're just coming up to midday. And as you can probably see behind me, the wind has picked up dramatically, and it's meant to hit sort of 35 mile an hour today, which isn't ideal for floater fishing. So I've had to make a little change to the way that I've been feeding, but I will run you through that as soon as I get this little chap in the net. It's only a small one, but again, it's not about the size, it's about the good fun and great sport. So as soon as I get him in the net, we'll have a little look and then we'll run through the feed that I'm putting out there. As I mentioned, I've had to mix it up with the floaters in the past hour or so. The wind's got up, made things quite tricky, made the appearance of the floating hook bait quite unnatural because I'm getting a lot of a crosswind coming across the front of the swim. So what I've done is I've pimped the floaters up. All I've been using is the 11mm floating trout pellets. To begin with, they were absolutely fine on their own, but now that the wind's picked up, I've had to pimp them up a little bit. And what I've done is I've given them a nice coating in some salmon oil. This will help flatten off the water, give a nice slick out there, meaning that I can see my hook bait a lot better, but more importantly, because there's no ripple between me and the spot, I'm not getting an unnatural drag of the hook bait coming through the swim, which definitely put the fish on edge. And all I've done to them after glazing them up is giving them a nice dusting in the krill meal. Now this will break down, flutter down through the water column, linger around in them upper layers and really get the fish grubbing on them. But another reason why I do it is because the salmon oil actually clings to it, almost acts as like a sponge, so you get that sort of dispersion of oil for a lot longer, and it seemed to do the job. So yeah, that's what's worked so far for me today. Floater fishing is as simple as it can be really. You don't need to overcomplicate it, but that's been what's doing the do. So we've still got a fish in the net and he looks like a nice scaly one. So let's go and have a look at him. Well, there we go. Certainly not the biggest, but probably the best looking one of the day. And to be honest, I've had, I think 7 fish now. We haven't filmed them all, but I'm content with what I've caught. And I've still got a fair bit of the day left. And you know what, I fancy a bit of edge fishing. So I think we're going to get him back, get all the kit on the barra, maybe have some lunch first, and go for a nosy around the other lakes and see if we can create an opportunity in the edge and see if we can watch one actually pick up the hook bait, because that's my favourite style of angling. But today so far has been absolutely mega fun. Right, let's get him back, get on the barra and have a nose. Well, all the kit is now loaded back on the barra, and I'm just going to nip back to the van quickly, change over what I'm using, so obviously this is all my floater kit, and get a bottom bait rod out the van, bit of bait for fishing in the edge, and yeah, we'll head off round, put some steps in, see if we can find a few. hopefully make an opportunity happen this afternoon. So yeah, get back, unload, and start again. Well, if I'm honest, I probably should have stayed floater fishing today, because we've been mooching around for the past 3 or 4 hours now and nothing has really presented itself. We had a little go on one of the smaller lakes here, the Coot Lake, try and nick one out the edge because there's nice clear water in there, but didn't. So we got close a couple of times, but yeah, nothing happened. So what I'm going to do now, before I head off home tonight, I've got a big bucket of bait and I'm just going to introduce a fair bit onto a couple of spots that I know I've caught off in the past, and any other likely looking areas where there could be a potential of a bite. So yeah, I'm going to walk around, bait a few different areas with a mix that I'll run through tomorrow, and hopefully by the time we get back down here in the morning, the spots are primed and we can catch one at the edge, maybe even see it pick up the hook bait, but if not, it'll be heart in your mouth stuff, fishing locked up, tight up against the marginal snags. My favourite way of fishing. So yeah, I'm going to knock all the rest of this bait in, bait a few different areas, and then I'll be back tomorrow. Here we are then, day 2, and I am going to catch one out the edge today. I'm not taking no for an answer, but before I do that, I'm going to have to knock up another bait mix because we put everything in that was in the bucket last night. So yeah, while I'm doing that, I'll run you through the mix. Just got to get me items of goodness out first, and then we'll have a little look at it. Okay, so I've just knocked up my mix of choice for today, and as you can see, extremely pellet dominated. Now that's because down here at Stanwick we feed the fish pellet a lot. They're used to finding it, they love eating it, and why not match what works? So all I've done in this mix is I've got some of the 11mm house pellet. Every lake that has house pellet on site is well worth getting some. Like I said, they're used to eating it and it's something they find near enough every day of the week. So yeah, 11mm, a little bit different as well. I'd say a lot of people are more keen on sort of 6mm, 4mm pellet, whereas the 11s are a little bit different, and it can actually make them a bit easier to catch because they actually move more between mouthfuls because they're bigger food items. I've also got some 10mm Pro Stim liver boilies in there just to give me some hook bait options should I need it. I actually think I'm going to be using the halibut pellet wafters today, just to match the pellet that I'm feeding really. But if I need to, I can change over to a sort of match the hatch hook bait. So yeah, that's why the 10mm boilies in there. Coming on from that, I've actually got some 6mm Pro Stim liver pellet in there as well. This is really rich in flavour. It's got that lovely sausage aroma. And next to that, I've coupled it up with the Bellicum pellets, which are really fishy, super pungent, and will probably bring anything sort of into the swim if it's travelling through and hopefully dropping down onto the bait. And then all I've done with the whole thing is give it a nice glaze in the Pro Stim liver bait booster. It's really sticky, really sort of rich, salty, meaty attraction. There's loads going on in there with all them different pellets and the boilie and the liquid. So hopefully any fish that's passing through the area will stumble across that sort of scent throughout the water column and drop down and feed. That's the plan anyway. So yeah, enough of me waffling. I need to go and catch one today because yesterday ended up being a fail. So this is going on my barra and we're going to go and find some. Well, here we are then. First place I'm going to try today is Elson's, I reckon. We baited a couple of spots on here yesterday before I left and it's looking good. The only negative is it's really windy today, even more so than yesterday, and it's a little bit colder. But that could be a little bit better for fishing in the edge and on the deck, to be fair. So yeah, I'm going to go and check a couple of the spots that I baited yesterday, get some rigs ready and see if we can make an opportunity happen. So this is one of the little edge spots I baited yesterday. I've been really quiet because I literally put the bait just 4 foot from the bank. And it's probably about 5 foot of water down there as well. This is actually a swim called the aquarium, because when they're here, it's like watching them in a goldfish bowl. It's gin clear, you can see everything, it's quality. And what's also quality is it looks like all my bait's been eaten as well from last night. So they've definitely been in and had a nose. And while I'm stood here talking, I can see one ghosting past the back of the spot, really slow, as if he's been eaten actually. That's a great sign, you know. I think we're gonna have to start here, Joe, because this is like, it looks mega. I've been stood here, what, 30 seconds? Right, I'm gonna keep things quiet and get a single rod out because there could be a quick bite on the cards there. Let's go. Right, I've just knocked up a rig, ready to drop into position. I've seen a few more fish ghosting through since as well, so it's looking really good for a bite at the minute, as long as I can get it in there without spooking them. So what I'm going to do, I'm literally going to lower it down. I'm not going to plop the lead in on the surface and make a splash. I'm literally just going to lower it off the tip, and then the carp should be none the wiser. I'm just making sure there's none there first. No, nothing coming from either side, we should be good. So let's get this in quickly. Lovely, just on that nice hard bit of ground down there. Just get that line under quickly. Alright, let's get it on the rest. Lock it up. Then pray it oops over. Well, that did not take long at all, and to be honest I was a bit panicky at the start of this fight because it's all locked up fishing down the edge, heart in your mouth stuff, but give it a big bit of beans from the off, got it straight out the snag, and now we're just playing him in open water. So yeah, I think the danger's over and he's almost beaten, but God, my heart is doing 10 to the dozen, if I'm honest. It's just a little bit tight in this swim for a 12-foot rod, but we'll make it work. There he is. Looks like a nice common. Not a monster, but he's a 20-pounder. Going round and round in circles. Come on, darling. Well, I think it's safe to say this fish has royally trashed the swim. So if we get him in the net, I think it's time for a little move. Maybe onto another different lake, I reckon. Come on, you're beaten now, surely. Are you beaten? You're beaten. You're beaten. You're definitely beaten. You're definitely beaten. There we go. Fine example of an Elson's Lake Common. Albeit not one of the bigger ones, but a lovely low 20. Lovely and dark. And yeah, caught probably with my favourite way of catching them. Real visual, out the edge, hit and hold, and real heart-stopping stuff. So yeah, as you probably saw during the fight, it didn't half give me the runaround, so I think it's trashed the swim. So I reckon we're going to get him back, get on the move, go and have a look at the Syndicate, I reckon, because it's normally good for a bite in the edge on there. And then we'll have a little look at the tactics that I use when I'm edge fishing. But what a lovely carp.
Hey, to whoever may need this nugget of encouragement, things will be alright, so quit your worry. I get it, the odds seem stacked back against the wall, but even consider it such, no, you'll stand tall. Sat and watch from the sidelines, one too many times. Wicked games to play, make me wanna lose my mind. Found solitude, knowing it'll be over soon. Ever need a boost, count on me for the 1-2. Trouble don't last when the tough get going. Baby, all we do is win, so show me my opponent. Adversity, doubt, stress, could care less, cause how we handle those like an S on our chest. Super proud of how we held it down on the way up. Can't wait for our day to...
Now, when it comes to baiting spots in the edge, a lot of people, and myself included up until a couple of years ago, would feed like small little handfuls here and there, loads of different spots. And don't get me wrong, it works, of course it does. But I've found from being sort of a part of the fishery for a little while now, sometimes it takes them a lot longer to get on the bait. And that may sound silly because it's a smaller quantity, but when we go around and feed the lakes, when it's quiet, we come round with big sacks of pellet, a big scoop, and we larrup it absolutely everywhere. And straight away I started noticing, you know what, they're getting on that within sort of an hour of it being out there. So I've sort of taken that into my own fishing a little bit. So now, rather than fishing little handfuls here and there, I'll quite happily put out 1 kilo, 2 kilo on a spot, just to keep an eye on. And 9 times out of 10, if there's fish in the area, it doesn't take them long to get on it at all. And that's exactly what I've been doing on this trip. Like big handfuls and multiple handfuls as well. And near enough all the bites that I've had have been fairly quick after getting the rod out. So something to bear in mind, and something that's definitely, I'd say, given me a little edge, if you like, over the past couple of years. So yeah, I'm going to carry on walking around, put a load more bait in. I don't want it to sound like I want you to put loads of bait in every single lake you go to, because some lakes it don't work. But down here, definitely giving them some food and spreading it around as well can pay dividends. Spread it around.
And it may seem like things ain't working out, but I know we gon' find a way without a doubt. Just hold on a little longer, you gon' see this through. I've been there and certain things always remain true.
So I've just had a move and ventured onto the Syndicate Lake now, and the wind is still blowing, but I've stumbled across a few in the edge, clouding it up. The good thing about the Syndicate Lake is it's clay lined, so when they're feeding it tends to puff up and really smoke up, and you can visually see where they've been. But yeah, I'm just going to run you through the rig that I caught that fish on this morning and what I'm going to put out now. So it's a D rig, which is comprised of Camatech semi-stiff and a size 4 curved shanked hook, and then all I've done is done sort of like a whipping knot down the shank and then just a knotless knot to secure it in place. On there I've got a little micro hook ring swivel, and I've got one of our halibut pellet wafters, the smaller of the two sizes, 10 by 12 mil. And on top of it I've got a little trimmed down sliver of washed out pink, which is one of the NS minis, just basically a third of that, just trimmed down a little bit more. It's probably about 6 mil in size now, because I like that sort of little visual marker, but it's not too obtrusive. I've found if you use like bigger hook baits or a bigger bit of colour, if you like, sometimes they can shy away from it, especially now that they've spawned and they've had a little spanking, if you like, throughout the spring, and they're a little bit more on edge. So yeah, that seems to be what does the trick for me through all of my edge fishing. I use this pretty much all year round, providing there's opportunities in the edge. And from what I've seen firsthand, normally they're hooked first time it goes in. They don't get away with it very often at all. So yeah, I'm going to clip this onto the rod, lower it in position, and I'm hoping to catch a bigger one. So I'm just sat up a tree at the minute watching the spot, and there is a lot of carp on the area now. There must be at least 8 to 10 fish, some good ones as well, all absolutely mullering the spot, really milking it up. It's looking absolutely prime for a bite at the minute. They're proper grubbing. I don't think it's going to be long until we get a bite. If the rod doesn't go, there's something very wrong with how the rig's sat or something, but I'm just going to keep quiet and hopefully something will rattle off in a minute. One just got caught in the line, man. It's drooping off the tip as well. Whilst I'm waiting for something to happen, I thought I'd run you through a few of my do's and don'ts when it comes to edge fishing and stalking. Now, my first piece of advice is never ever leave home without the old Sunny D's. Polarising sunglasses, they make a huge difference, take the glare off the water, and I would not leave home without them, especially when I'm fishing clear venues where I'm physically seeing the carp in the edges. So yeah, never leave home without them. Secondly, be light on your feet. Now what I mean by that is don't go heavy-footed, treading around, snapping sticks, because the carp are so in tune with their own environment, they'll know you're there, and that'll be chance blown before you've even actually created one. So yeah, I try and creep around as quietly as I can, looking at the floor most of the time, making sure I'm not stamping on sticks or even stupid stuff like crunchy leaves. Like, I just take everything into consideration, try and be as stealthy as possible, and it definitely creates more opportunities for me. Leading on from that, you'll actually notice when I walk down into the swim, I'll always have my hands behind my back, just to cover sort of my pale anemic skin, if you like, because it's not a very natural colour. And I'll normally have my hood up as well, just to sort of break it up a little bit more. And where possible, I always try and make sure I've got something behind me. So whether that's a bush or any sort of tree foliage, anything really, just so I'm not casting an unnatural shadow over the water that maybe the carp have never seen before. So yeah, try and keep yourself as discreet as possible. blend in as much as you can. I know I'm not wearing full camo, but you get the gist, and it will definitely put a few more bites on the bank for you. One thing that's definitely worth mentioning when it comes to stalking and edge fishing, especially in a snaggy environment, is fish safety. Now, I'll always be on the rod. I'll never be more than a few feet away from it. The last thing you want to do is get bored and go and check one of the other spots, leaving the rod in the water and then getting a bite and potentially having a tethered fish. Like, we don't want that. We want to hook, land and return everything, every opportunity that we get. So yeah, being on the rod is absolutely key. And you'll notice when I was on Elson's, I was fishing up against a bush to the side, so I was fishing completely locked up, so that fish couldn't take an inch of line until I got it well away from that snag. So yeah, fish safety, fish safe, and definitely assess the situation before you start baiting it. Jesus Christ. I think it's a stocky, judging by the way it's going. God, my heart is doing 10 to the dozen. It's definitely putting up a fair old tussle. I don't think it's one of the bigger ones that was down there either. I had some real good fish feeding down there, some like definite mid to upper 30s. Plus a load of really nice ones, but this thing's a psycho. Jesus. It can be a bit more gentle than when we were on Elson's, because there isn't any underwater snags as such. Might just be a bit of weed which we can pull through nice and easily, hopefully. Come to Stanwick Lakes for some tuna fishing. Yeehaw! Oh God. Go on you. We'll have you, definitely, if I can get my rod up any higher. Yes! He's mega. He weren't coming up. Good job with the way that he was going. Thought he was a tuna. There we go, rig out the way, which means no issues when I lift him out. Who said big was best? Certainly not me. Look how angry and beautiful he is. What a lovely carp that is, and probably a nice way to finish this film. Wonderful carp, probably 22, 23 pound, but look at it. Did I get more scaly than that? That is mega. Well chuffed with him, and it just shows you in the summer, floater fishing and down the edge is a fantastic and really exciting way to catch them, and it's something that I absolutely love. But for now, I'm going to get him back, get the kit back in the van and head off home, I think. Ready to do it all again next week. Mega.